Hello everyone and welcome back to Player One Start. In this video, I'm going to showcase the games that I played throughout the year 2021. Now this video is not going to include most of the games that I've played in previous videos and live streams. I'm specifically referring to the games that I enjoyed personally and may not have actually just played for this channel, but there will be some overlap. Looking back on it, I hadn't really realized how big of a year this was for video games for me personally, and it will take a while to get through, so let's go ahead and get started. Thinking back at the beginning of the year, the most current console I owned was the Nintendo Switch. I didn't yet have a PS5 or Xbox Series X. And I think the first big game that I ended up getting this year for the Nintendo Switch was a game I'd already played before, which was Super Mario 3D World, plus Bowser's Fury. This game was actually packaged in with my Wii U when I purchased it, and to tell you the truth, it didn't really leave a good first impression. I'd only beaten about the first two worlds before I got done with it, and I never really went back to it until I heard that it was going to be remade for the Nintendo Switch. It was then I decided to go back and play through this game, and to tell you the truth, on the second time playing this game, it left me with a much deeper appreciation. This game is very well made. The tight platforming controls and the 2.5D perspective that you get in this game really gives you a sense of having full 3D movement without even realizing that you're not free roaming the environment, you're really confined into just these spaces. Compared to my first experience with Mario on this platform, which was Mario Odyssey, I feel like this game is just as enjoyable, but for different reasons. Where I really like the open worldness feel of each area in Super Mario Odyssey, I really like the fact that each one of the levels in this game kind of gives you a gimmick that you must overcome. Not to mention that each of the levels in this game are beautifully made and really fit a unique aesthetic that keeps you engaged, even in the more difficult sections. Which, in terms of difficulty, I would say this is one of the easier Mario titles that I've played, but in a couple areas it seems like the difficulty is way off-balanced with the rest of the game. On the other side of that, since I'd already played this game before, I wasn't expecting to be hooked into it as much as I was, but I really feel like I wanted to get through the entire first game before going into the Bowser's Fury expansion pack. And the only thing I have to say about this is I wish there was more of it. They really should have gone through and made this kind of its own separate game, and filled it out to be a full-fledged Mario 3D title. I really would have liked to have seen that. But instead of judging it on what this could have been, I'm just going to say that it is a very worthy addition to this game, and a nice bonus, although I don't think it made it worth the entire price tag of paying a full new game, so I ended up getting this at a discount. Overall, I would say that people who have never played this game would probably benefit the most from it, and it is nice if you have a friend over, or up to 4 friends, you can do co-op mode in this, although I find that a bit more messy than actually just playing it through single player. Another surprise hit for me that month was the return of the game Thomas Was Alone. I played the heck out of this on PS3, PS4, but mostly on the Vita. I like these little puzzle titles that play more like a game to relax than a game to challenge you. I also like the simplicity of this game. It really could have been designed on a platform like the Game Boy, and overall I just find it to be a neat puzzle platformer that is just great to sit back and knock out a couple levels on when you have some spare time. As I mostly play this on the Switch in handheld mode, I don't really have a lot of footage captured for it, and if I were to offer any criticism of the game is that I really do find myself just muting the game and listening to other music in the background. Although the narrations can be very complex for how simple this game is, I find that a bit funny, but other people have noted it can be annoying. So if you like puzzle platformers that they just don't make this way anymore, and you can find it on the cheap, I would definitely recommend this as a decent title to add to your digital library. Also in the late winter and early spring months, I was returning to Animal Crossing to keep up on my island, and again, this is just, to me, just a neat time waster title to hop into, kill some time in, and then just walk away from. And to be honest, I don't ever remember playing this game online or visiting other people's islands, so I'm really just doing this just for my own enjoyment. I do like that they add in some seasonal things for you to do, but for me that was actually a bit of overkill because all I wanted to do was just go in, complete the same mindless repetitive tasks, and then leave the island. A bit richer than when I first got there. Another game around this time I decided to go back and play through was Final Fantasy X. This remaster has been out for a while, but the last time I played this portably was on the PlayStation Vita. And again, this is one of the titles I played more portably, so I didn't capture a whole lot of footage from it. And in terms of Final Fantasy games, I say that you don't really replay them, but you kind of relive them, because you're going to be stuck in this title for many hours. I didn't think a replay of a Final Fantasy game would hold my interest that long, but I did go back through and beat this game, and even went back and completed a lot of the side quests. There is the digital download for Final Fantasy X-2, but that title is a far cry from this game. I didn't really enjoy it as much. And I think it really does take away from this game's heartbreaking ending. And yes, even though I saw the ending coming from a mile away, having played this before at least a couple of times, my eyes still watered up at the ending of this game. And for those of you that have watched like a playthrough of this game, it is not the same as investing all of that time yourself. But this was a good title for me to pick up on the Switch. I had a lot of fun replaying it. I did have this for an embarrassingly long amount of time before I actually popped it in, but once I powered it up, I was hooked. Another game I've had in my collection for quite a while but never really played was Fibbage. It is included in the Jackbox Party Pack Volume 1, and there's an edition in Volume 2. But what I got these packs mostly for was for You Don't Know Jack, which has been a long-time favorite of me personally, and I've played this with my family a lot at our family gatherings. The problem is, we have now officially played through every single question in You Don't Know Jack, and I decided to say, well, there's other games on here, do you guys want to try them out? And Fibbage was the one that won out over all the other games in the first volume. We've had an endless amount of fun actually playing through these games, and so far I don't think we've hit too many repeats, but I know we haven't seen all of the questions in the first pack. Sadly, I was sick during this year's Christmas gathering, so I couldn't get together with my family, so instead we actually played this online because I was able to stream out my Nintendo Switch to them, and they were able to join and play with their cell phones, and it worked pretty well for the most part. So even though this is a game I didn't think was going to make it on the list, I mean it's been out for a while, this was a lot of my 2021 was playing this game.
Alright, let's see what everybody picked. And it was also... Great minds think alike.
Out of all of the games I knew were going to be released this year for the Nintendo Switch, I think I look forward to Mario Golf the most. That should come as no surprise to those of you who followed my channel for a while. I am a huge fan of golf video games, especially when they're done well, and I have played the heck out of Mario Golf Toadstool Tour on the GameCube. And I was very sad not to see that game get a treatment with Wii motion controls at the very least, or even a full-fledged title in the last 15-20 years since that game's been released. And playing it on the Switch, I was not disappointed. I very quickly went through and played through the exhibition mode and unlocked almost everything I could through there, but I also went back and played through the adventure mode, which I found to be just okay. I wasn't really a big fan of the long reading passages you have to do to get between events, and I really don't see kids sitting through that as much either. But in the end, the gameplay and the extra side game gimmicks that they throw in there was a great addition to it, and I think they really nailed the head on this one. Sadly this year we did have to say goodbye to, I think, my favorite Switch game of all time, and that was Super Mario 35. I almost can't overstate how much time that I put into Super Mario 35 through the last months of its life. And I will plead yet again for Nintendo to restore this game to your Nintendo Switch Online service. I would almost go to the point that I would pay for the extra expansion. If they would just include this game with that, it might make it worth it to me, just because I really enjoyed this game, and I never really had a hard time finding 35 people to play with it. I suspect in the future there may be a homebrew version of this if Nintendo doesn't release it again. It was a lot more fun than I ever thought it could be. And the last big release I had on the Nintendo Switch this year was Cruisin Blast. Again, this is another one of those titles where as soon as I heard they were releasing it, I was like, yes, I have to have it. I was a huge fan of the Cruisin line on the Nintendo 64, a lot of the arcade ports, and even the version they released on the Wii, which I think was the last one before this version. And boy, did they not disappoint. This game is not only great to play single player, but it is also great to play multiplayer. It really gives you that arcade racing feel that sadly we were lacking this year, as a lot of arcades were closed due to mitigations because of the pandemic, or there weren't very many people who wanted to go there because of one reason or another. So combine that between the number of years it's been since the last release in this series, and I really was very grateful for this title. I think people who grew up with these games back in the late 90s and early 2000s would appreciate it more than the modern crowd, but with all the bright flashy sounds and the arcade feel, each race, even though it's only about a minute to a minute and a half long, feels like you get a huge adrenaline rush, and I don't think I can recommend this title enough, so this is the game I think I've played the most over the last couple of months.
First place!
Well, that about wraps up the big games that I played for the Nintendo Switch in 2021. What were some of the games that you guys played that were on my list, and which ones did I miss that I definitely need to pick up as soon as possible? And just to get that conversation rolling, I'm going to ask how many were disappointed I have not picked up Metroid Dread yet. And in next week's video, I will finish up my 2021 year in gaming with the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Thankfully, I was able to acquire both of those systems last year, and they have kept me plenty busy, even though I have yet to purchase a single game for the Xbox Series X. But thanks to Game Pass, I have played most of the games I would want for that system, but I wonder what that holds for the long term with the Xbox Series X.
Damn it! You keep getting uglier.
If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon. A special thanks to those Patreons you see on screen. Also, if you like what you see, please remember to leave a like and click that subscribe button on your way out. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.